Hello everyone. So this is our first test meeting in the Volta Stabilization Brigade. So in this first meeting, I put couple of agenda items, generic items as part of the agenda, and hope you all can see the screen here. I'm just sharing it right here. So we can go over these items. The first one, which we wanted to bring up, is the test strategy. So this test strategy is the document that was shared by Saurav last week, and he has sent it on the mailing list. I hope people have got a chance to look at it. If not, the purpose in this call is that we would just give a very brief highlight of what we want to do as part of our Voltha testing in the stabilization and testing brigade. Just a quick overview on the test framework. Um, we are going to use the robot framework as part of the automation test framework, and and then we are using these automation framework to create tests on BBSIM and also on the physical pods. And this section over here talks about the minimum or at least a pod should have these kind of set of hardware to start with. And there are already some tests which are started as part of the test development, and there is a sanity test which can be run as part of pod. And going further, we are talking about the specific framework that we have already started developing at ONF. So this robot framework and is mostly written, the libraries are mostly written in Python, and also the libraries are also written as part of robot itself. And these same framework can be used for executing tests on BBSIM and also on hardware. And there are a couple tests which we are planning to write where we can run these tests on both BBSIM and hardware at the same time. So the same test can be invoked on BBSIM and hardware. That is still work in progress, or we still need to decide how we want to do that. But basically, the framework is written modular so that anybody can take these library functions and write new library functions as part of modular format, and then more tests can be written as part of the framework. And not going too many details into the framework, but just giving an overview. So the next topic is about patch test verification. We already have certain jobs which are already defined and running as part of our Jenkins, and which are run as part of patch set verification, which are used for gating the patches. So I would like Zach to give more overview on the patch sets and also some part of the unit tests. Zach, if you are on the
Yeah,
call.
sure. So if you go, there's a link there to the test and release software on the guide. Um,
Do you want me to open
I
that?
think, yeah, can you go there? So this goes over all of the different tags, and so you'll see that there's some stuff about how versioning is done, and then further down there's about the specific pre-verification patch sets. So we have a license check, a tag collision check that checks that tags aren't reused. We have Helm jobs, and then we have some unit test jobs. And those unit test jobs are also configurable. So you can run make test on them. There's also some other ones you can have them run lint tools or build Docker containers. Basically, we want to make sure that everything is done that would be required to release the software, and that it passes all its internal unit tests and can be built. And there's additionally some post after things are merged. There's various jobs that create Docker containers, create GitHub releases, all these other things that happen automatically. So that way, the entire goal of this is that somebody makes a change to the version file or makes a change to a repo just to improve the code base, and it will automatically get tested, and when merged or submitted, it will get pushed out into all the places it needs to be, either that be Docker Hub or published to PyPy or whatever with the libraries. And how this applies to the testing side of things. So right now we have the Voltha, the Voltha system tests. Those have a make file in them that runs tests that verify that the robot files are formatted properly. We have other tests that basically run that make test command on other repos as necessary. So we use makefile as basically a wrapper to aggregate all of this testing that we do. If someone has specific questions about how that works, feel free to ask me or either on Slack or either as a part of this brigade, and we can go over that. Is there anything else that I missed there, Suchitra?
No, I think the purpose of going over the test strategy is to let everyone know that what types of testing we already have and how we want to go about.
Right.
And then if there are more questions in specific to a particular area, like let's say integration tests or unit tests or patch verifications, then we can have separate calls. So
okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. Okay, so next, not as Zach mentioned, there are jobs that are run for patch sets, and now there are integration tests that are run nightly. So for that purpose, we use Jenkins to build the deploy the pods, and once the pods are being deployed every night, then a test job is invoked, and then all the functional tests that are written as part of the automation framework are executed as part of this. And currently, we don't have many tests running, but there is only one sanity test which is run as part of the pod nightly build, and we have still more work to go on that area. And as part of the job creations and the Jenkins, there are already templates that have been created, and they are part of CI management repo. And if anybody wants to build a pod, then they are available, and that could be easily achieved as part of the templates, and build a pipeline where the jobs can be built and then run successive tests on those. So quickly going over the other items is that, as we just talked about the unit test, and also the next strategy would be how do we perform chaos testing, soak testing, performance and scale testing, but these are towards a later stage. But the first main goal is to have the functional tests be achieved as part of the stabilization testing. And once these are achieved, then the next focus and target would be on the performance test. And for performance test, we would be using BBSIM. So any questions on this test strategy? And this is also, and just to let everyone know that this is just a preliminary document that was started and just describes a very high level overview of how we want to achieve various test purposes. And we will keep adding more information towards this document.
Suchitra, you didn't mention the version of BBSIM that we'd be using. I mean, how we would transition to the new one. Is that being considered, and at which point would that happen?
Yes, we will be We will be working on the new BBSIM. I think Theo is also on the call, and then he can give more updates on it. Theo, if you're on the call, can you let us know when we can start using the new BBSIM?
Yeah, so the new BBSIM is actually right now working for the subset of features that we are using in the test, meaning that it can emulate device, it can emulate EPOL and DHCP processes. So I think it's fine to start using it in the test if we want to.
Thanks, Theo. So did you get that, Gil?
Yep, I got that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I sent out an email last Friday on both the SIBA and Voltha mailing list with instruction on how to use it. So if anyone wants to try it out and has any issue, please let me know.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Theo.
Okay, any other questions before I move on? Okay. The other two documents that I put here is one is talking about the Voltha automation framework itself. This is the document that was shared some time back. And I'm not going to go in detail, but just giving a brief overview. We already have an existing framework with SIBA, and that was used to develop tests on BBSIM, PONSIM, and which also we had on physical pod as well on the hardware based tests. So we are reusing most of the framework from that SIBA project, and then we are reusing it as part of Volta testing as well. And there are also some new framework that was written as part of Volta, and that's being developed as part of Volta system test repo. And sanity tests are ready on both physical pod and BBSIM as well. So if there are any questions, specific questions on the framework itself, you can reach out to us on the Slack channel or on the mailing list. And the other document is talking about this Volta stabilization test cases, which we had been using as part of the stabilization brigade. And this is, I just formatted this sheet a little bit by adding the Jira tickets and the description of the test case, and whether it is implemented or not, if it is implemented, whether this particular test is running on Jenkins or not, and then we have some description or notes if there is some showstopper for this particular test case or some notes related or to any specific issues that we want to raise, we can add it here. And this is the assigned engineer. So the purpose of this document is to keep track of all the tests as part of test plan, and also keep track of who is doing, and then it gives a clear idea of a particular test description along with the test case ID, so that there is an easy and quick reference to the test cases that have been developed in the automation repo. Because the automation repo consists of multiple test cases, sometimes it is really difficult to have a correlation of what test case and the description itself. So this spreadsheet is we will keep it for the release, and then this will be keep updating and maintain this by the community as well. So the most important high priority test cases have been added as part of the sheet, but I would request the development as well to go over this sheet and then add more test cases as part of this. And there are also some Jira tickets that have not been created in this particular spreadsheet, which needs more discussion whether these are required or not, and probably in a separate call we can go over it. But I just wanted to bring it up and show like what this Volta test case list looks like. Any questions on the test plan itself or the format?
I think this looks really good, and I like that we have them aligned here with Jira tickets, so we know exactly what the we can track things that way as well.
Okay, and I was also thinking, let's say right now we have a column where it says like run on Jenkins, yes or no, but then maybe having a Jenkins job ID would also be useful. I'm not sure if that
Oh, the name of the job.
the name of the job where it is run.
Yeah, that could be useful. Or if it's a part of another job, because some of these tests, I'm assuming, are going to not be standalone. You might have 2 or 3 of the test cases get handled in one job.
Yes. Yeah, like some of them will be also run as part of sanity jobs, and some of them are just written for Volta patch sets. verification. And I think in this list, most of them would be for the integration testing for the nightly based test jobs. So maybe having a link to the Jenkins job would be useful.
That sounds good.
I'll add it. Okay, so the next, before I move on to the Jira boards, are there any specific questions related to any high-level details of these documents itself? Okay, so Zach helped create a new dashboard for the brigade testing brigade itself, and currently we have around 17 tickets as part of this brigade, and I'm going to add a couple more. There are some unassigned items as part of the test plan which needs more discussion, as I was mentioning earlier. And then once they are cleared, then I'm going to add more tickets over here. So please feel free to pick where there are unassigned here. There are many unassigned tickets over here, so please feel free to pick up a ticket and update the spreadsheet as well. And if there are any questions on how to go about starting this the test development, please definitely reach out to us on the Slack channel. And in the Voltha system test repo itself, we do have some documentation already started, how to get things started and how to start writing a test case. So please go over those, and that will help you. And there are also many links over there which will help you to understand the robot framework itself and the frame the Volta system test framework itself. So currently, there are only few items that are on high priority and medium priority. This list might need be revised further to really identify what are the highest priority tasks that needs to be tested. I would go with Saurav on this list and then get this list to be appropriate and correct.
Sounds good. And we should try and I'll also be working on assigning these to the resources committed to the SIBA search team.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Sarah.
I would have expected them to actually come to this call. Were they not informed? Maybe it was my responsibility. I went on PTO for a couple of days, so I lost track.
Actually, in the previous Volta call, like Tuesday, I made a quick announcement when there were people at the end of the call that we will be having a testing brigade testing first meeting this Thursday, and it was recorded.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, that's okay. I'll reach out to them personally.
Okay, sure. Yeah, then we
Thanks.
can definitely go over next week as well if there are more people from testing itself.
But you're recording this, so they should be able to see this also.
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So this is the dashboard for the testing brigade, and I also requested Zach to create another dashboard for tracking the bugs. And this is the dashboard which shows the bugs, all the bugs that are as part of the maintenance and the stabilization and in Volta itself. And this could be further revised again by updating the query. But the idea of this particular dashboard is to keep track of what are the blocker bugs and then go over these bugs during a bug scrub meeting, and if there are any uh, unassigned bugs as part of this list, then people can just pick it up looking at this. And I've noticed that there have been many bugs which were like unassigned from this list. So probably we should do a bug scrub and then make sure that there are people assigned to it, and also make sure that we are tracking these towards the closure of the bugs. Any comments on the bugs in this scope?
So there's when people are looking through the bug list, there's some labels that we can set on these. Probably most obvious are there's one called triage, which means you need more help making sense of the bug, and there's verify, which is if you're having trouble reproducing the bug. And so you'll see that some of these have them. So like that Voltha 1695, and it has a verify tag because somebody was having trouble reproducing it. And that also may apply if, for example, the bug was reported on an older version and we're not sure if it still exists on the newer version. So I think Julie talked about that at the last Voltha meeting or the meeting before last on Tuesday. So just be aware of that. That can be useful. I'm probably going to also make another filter at this that filters out just the ones that have those tags or those labels set.
Okay, that's helpful, Zach. And just a quick question. Let's say if there is a regression here as part of this bug. So is this just happening only in the older, or this was just broken? Is that the meaning?
I am not sure. So we do have some labels that are not formalized, and I think that's one of them. We should go through and formalize those if we can find them. Ideally, we wouldn't have regressions. We'd be catching them in our tests, and the tests would, if somebody does find a regression, part of the remediation of that regression would be to write a test that identifies and prevents it from happening in the future. So that's a process question.
Okay, sounds good. Maybe we should go over the labels and then refine them, what we need exactly.
So yeah, in this case, what is this? 1656 with pond sim OF agent reporting incorrect number of ports. Maybe the remediation would be adding something to one of the robot tests that we run that counts the number of ports and ensures that it's correct on future tests so that the regression can't, or so that regression can't be reintroduced accidentally.
Mm-hmm. And then I also noticed that labels is just a text box. Is it like, are we restricting to select a particular label, or is there a way that users also can enter any label they want and it shows up?
They can enter whatever label they want. It's not necessary that you enter in any labels, unlike components where you have to enter in a component. There's also a unknown component if you're not sure where the bug is or what component is actually causing the problem. So, and you'll see that stabilization is used a lot. That's because the stabilization brigade is using that for sorting out items, not the epic-based method that the rest of the brigades are using.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Zach. So just a quick question. So if I want to reach out about the labels and then talk about these, so should I just talk to the group 5 or bring it up as part of one of the meetings?
So there's a ticket, Voltha 1999, that has some basic documentation for the labels. And these are the ones that we're actively using. Additional labels are not necessarily were just sort of informally created or existed before we started doing this organization scheme. So I would recommend that you use these and not add a whole lot of new ones.
Okay. Thanks, Zach.
Okay.
Any other questions in general about this dashboard? Okay. All right, so I'm not sure what is this about, label reference. Can you speak to it? I'm not sure who has written this here. Oh, you're going to add that. All right, thanks, Zach. So moving on from the Jira agenda item, so the next step is the getting started. How do we start contributing to the testing brigade? Basically, as we talked earlier, there are Jira tickets, and Sarah will be helping us to assign engineers on these tasks. And if you are also looking at this Jira tickets, please go ahead and then pick one of the tickets and start going through these documents about the process itself on the testing side, and start adding the framework. And we already have docs which are as part of the README files in the Voltha system test repos, and we are and start adding the framework. And since there is already existing frameworks, first please go look at the existing framework and try to run the existing tests on either using bbsim or pods, and to just be aware like how these tests are formatted and how these tests are run. And reach out to us if there are any questions on either Slack or the mailing list. So that would be the first step. And definitely, if there are any discussions about writing new framework, please do reach out to us. And please make sure that there are some items to remember when we are writing the framework. We are only writing in Python and Robot, and some of the notes are already documented as part of the README files in the Voltha system test report. So I highly recommend everybody to go through those documents before even you start contributing to this the test itself. So moving on, there are things that I have added here. In general, this is for future meetings. This meeting was just an introductory meeting where we wanted to just start and touch the highlights of the test process itself. But if there are specific questions on unit tests or the path set verifications or the physical parts or any integration tests or the automation framework, and once the tests are there, then the integration, how we integrate as part of Jenkins, and all these specific items, uh, there will be calls in future meetings, because we are meeting every Thursday at 8 a.m. 8:30 p.m. 8:30 sorry 8:30 a.m. PST, and we can have more discussions around the contribution itself, and if there are any issues in approaching to any of these aspects. So otherwise, I didn't have any other topics to start with. Didn't want to go in through too much details, technical details, as part of this first call. But if there are any generic items that we want to talk as part of this first call, please bring it up right now. Or anybody wants to add anything else?
Just one comment. On some of these, the names of some of the jobs in Jenkins may change. I'm trying to formalize them so that they all, jobs that run to verify patch sets all start with verify, and a few other minor changes like that. So I'll update the document as those changes happen.
Question. Say I need a new job. I'm working on the functional testing. I'm just about to release a Garrett review, like a patch set. But this needs a separate job from the Sanity one that's already running. Because this runs on 16, it runs with bbsim, but with 16 ONUs. So how do I go about making that happen?
So how is the job structured? Is it a Jenkins file that your job is encapsulated in, or? how is it run?
It's not running right now. Like I say, all I have is I'm making changes to the Voltha system tests, and I'm adding to the existing sanity test that's already there. So
Okay.
there's a section now will be functional tests, and it'll run on 16 with BBSIM with 16 ONUs.
So I can add to it if you don't mind, Zach. So for the BBSIM related testing, we would ideally create a new job which will run, install, and then which will run all the functional test cases as part of BBSIM. So we need to create a newer job, which is like a functional job. So we would run exactly like the nightly based job, and we install it using the released Helm charts, and then we test the BBSIM functional test.
Yeah, I've been using it. It's kind Volta. That's what I'm
Okay.
planning to use. So that's where it runs.
Right. Yeah. So we do have a sanity system test job. Using the same template, we can create another new job, but modify existing template a little, and then just to invert this functional test right after.
Perfect. Yeah. So I need to work with someone to get that happen. But I'll first release my changes and get those reviewed. But I need to see that that a new Jenkins jobs happen to support that.
Yeah.
Will it be possible to combine these two jobs in a single one with a parameter that specifies how many ONUs are there?
Yeah, but this is okay. The criteria is that the sanity one runs on patch set, whereas mine will run at different times during the day. Maybe just nightly. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's different criteria for the functional test than there are for the sanity test.
Yeah, so first I would say, as you were saying, that please submit your code first, and then we can review it first. And let's run it on a local machine and to see how the results are. And we will know how the tests are invoked exactly, because we want the test to be run the same way that we have the existing test, like the sanity test, which is written on BB.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mine is based on that. Yes, for sure.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so if that's the case, then it's easier to integrate as part of Jenkins. It's just that we need a new test job.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so I'll submit those likely today, later today.
Okay, thanks, Gil.
Okay, you're welcome.
So any other items to bring up? Okay, looks like we are done with the meeting then. Thanks, everyone, and we'll meet again next Thursday, same time.
Alrighty, thanks, Sujitra.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, thank you.